Excitement building. The drivers, though, want to remain calm, remain focused at the task at hand as they pair up coming out of the hairpin.
We expect a lot of the drivers in this second level of the Road to Indy, all of them running for a scholarship to go to Indy Lights competition. Folks, the 2022 Road to Indy season about to get ready to fire up. And again, it's Green on the inside, Ahmed on the outside. Looking good coming into the punch-off, and we are green, green, green. They'll run it down into turn number one. We'll get that shot. Couple drivers going wide. Big outside run for Green, and he'll clear cleanly. Drivers looking good further back through that opening corner here. And this is where it gets tight as well, Todd. Coming through 2, 3, and over to turn number 4. Drivers playing nicely so far, but a great hole shot lead for Josh Green coming through turn number 1. Did not defend at all. Little lock up there further back. That might have been Reese Gould, I think, locking it up, diving to the inside. But the opening couple of corners, Todd, pretty clean.
Nice work by these Indy Pro 2000 drivers. Everybody giving each other a little bit of room heading into corner number 1. Those that did go up the inside did get the car slowed down properly. And you mentioned, we saw that was the trouble for Christian Brooks earlier, is that he had problems just after corner number 1 and got into the wall. But everybody seems to be getting through this first lap smoothly so far.
And again, we talked about the fact that 3 sets of tires. Did drivers go fresh tires? Did they go the tires from qualifying? Looks to me like everybody on the scuffs right now. Tomorrow morning when it's a little bit cooler, they're going to want more grip. So I think what we've got so far is a solid run for the drivers here on the opening circuit. Josh Green was out to the lead early, but now it's Anam Ahmed. What has happened to Josh Green? Ahmed has gone to P1, I believe. No, that's the lead for Green. I literally looked up, Todd, outside here, not on the screen, and saw that was Ahmed. Green's 2 seconds down the road already.
That's amazing to pull out that kind of a lead on lap 1 of 25, but he's 2 seconds ahead of Ahmed.
So those of you who watched the start, essentially what Josh was able to do there, he got such a good jump. He didn't have to defend to the inside of turn 1 like so many drivers normally do. He took the full outside line. Everybody else in defense mode. Josh Green has a 2-second lead already over Anam Ahmed. So just early on, what will be a 25-lap race for drivers here at Indy Pro 2000. Again, the second rung of this Road to Indy. And I think we're going to see some fights rolling up here pretty quickly. It's to me like Jordan Missick may have got a spot there. Yeah, he's able to work his way, I think, up into the 14th position. And again, I'd said earlier, got to say it right, Shanahan, Illinois. Shanahan. We'll work on that to make sure it's perfect. Jordan Missick again running with Pabst Racing. Green coming out of turn number 12 cleanly. Nice lead there over Anam Ahmed. Louis Foster running in the 3rd spot. Braden Eves 4th. Nolan Siegel 5th. Prokacek 6th. Porto 7th. Gold 8th. Miller 9th. And Matt Garrido rounding out the top 10. So good opening stanza for the drivers here in Indy Pro 2000. Again, we all, I think in the Road to Indy paddock, Todd, hold our collective breaths when they come through turn number 1. It's a huge exhale when they get on, to the start the second lap, because everybody's settled in. You're back to single file racing. It's when they're double file, it's the starts, the restarts where things get pretty dicey.
That's what everyone gets so focused on in corner number 1. But you forget that's just the first corner of 25 laps of the first race of the season, and there's a long way to go. So pace yourself accordingly. Interesting that Reese Gould has slipped back a couple of spots. We've seen Kiko Porto move up as well, and I didn't see if Reese was having any particular issues, but he has dropped back a little bit.
Yeah, I think sometimes that will happen. Again, we talked about the fact that Josh Green was able to get cleanly through. If you find yourself in the wrong spot, you get pinched up a little bit in turn 1, those opening couple of corners, sometimes it's better to get through here. And when we talked to Oliver Askew about that, he said straight up, you can't win your championship here, but you can certainly make it a lot tougher. You can find yourself trying to play catch-up for the remainder of the season. I think so many of these drivers, with the experience they have, some of these drivers may not have the experience here in the Road to Indy, but a driver like Jonathan Brown, the guy is a former, Formula Ford Festival winner. That's, F1600 Formula Ford racing. He knows what wheel-to-wheel racing is all about. He can give and take some room. So a lot of the drivers here, I think, with the experience, whether it came from the Road to Indy, they still have that racing experience a little bit older than the drivers in USF 2000.
Wyatt Brychek now moving up, and Jack William Miller slipping back just a little bit. The lead for Josh Green has slipped down to below 2 seconds. So Anam Ahmed may now have just been starting to settle in, understand that there's a bit of a gap that he's got to close down. And that's what you need to do now, is just focus on hitting the marks at every corner, having a smart, smooth lap, going as quickly as you possibly can, and cut into that little by little. You're not going to do it all at once.
Exactly that. We got a scrap here a little further back. That, I think, is De Alba tried to get around Garrido. That would be, I believe, for the 10th position. So Salvador De Alba for Jay Howard Driver Development, trying to find a way by Matt Garrido, and indeed he gets the job done here at the start-finish. So move De Alba up a position. A big transition for Salvador De Alba. Here's a guy that has been a race winner for Jourdain Motorsports in the Mexican NASCAR program down south. A much lighter car, much more nimble race car, but he picked up that Indy Lights when he tested at Mid-Ohio with Andretti last year.
It's amazing how drivers that are talented understand what a race car does. It's the adaptability that you want to find too. Is okay, so I haven't driven open wheel racing cars yet, but once you get into it, once you start to get the feel, once you start to get comfortable, then the talent comes to the fore in understanding how to go quickly in that different kind of machine.
Josh Green's lead now down to 1.7 seconds. We'll keep a look at the lap times as they roll down here as Ahmed trying to reel him in a bit. Louis Foster still having a good run in the exclusive Autosport number 90. He's not that far back either, only a second behind Ahmed. He only has a half a second to Brayton Eves, who runs in 4th spot. Nolan Siegel in 5th, 6th Prokacek. And for me, I look at some of the rookies here that have come up from USF 2000 this year. Green P1, Siegel now in the 5th spot, Porto in 7th. I like seeing these young kids kind of step up here and really look strong within the top 10.
Lead continues to drop just a little bit, now under a second and a half for Inam Ahmed, who has closed up just a little bit on Josh Green, the rookie. And this is where the rookie gets experience as well, because now he understands there's a driver behind him who's running a little bit quicker. You don't want to become focused on the driver that's trying to chase you down. You still have to look forward. You still have to run your race and manage it that way.
The interesting thing is, as I look at lap times, Josh Green at a 1:10.4 last time by, he was actually slower than everybody back to Prokacek. He was a little slower than Ahmed, Foster, Eves, Siegel. When you have that rabbit in front of you, it's so much different than when you're the guy up front, especially once you haven't won in Indy Pro 2000. Man, his mind's got to be, I got this lead. No mistakes. You know, maybe I'll leave myself a little more room, where Ahmed's like, I'm up against the wall. I'm taking every bit of pavement that I can. For right now, for Green, I'm sure that Peter Dempsey's on the radio, or whoever's on the radio with him, saying, hey, listen, here's your gaps. You know the speed you have early in this race right now. Let's not burn the tires up. Got to maintain that gap again. Green goes down to a 1:10.2. Ahmed down to a 1:10.0. 1.3 seconds the gap. Green, I think, just kind of managing that gap right now.
And that's going to be the key in understanding that. He's only 20% of the way through this race. Now he's still got to go hit the marks, run smooth and consistently. If you're a 10th slower, if you're a 10th quicker, that's okay. You don't want the big gap where you're 3 or 4 tenths on any given lap.
That's exactly it. And again, when you're the leader, you do kind of set the pace. Yeah, you can get reeled in, but there's a lot of times where a leader will pick a pace he wants to run, at least through the first half, and then maybe I'll dial things in. Again, as the car starts to burn off fuel, it's going to behave a little bit differently right now. So tires, of course, up to temperature now, the Cooper tires. So far, pretty clean racing. No one getting too hectic here. Watching the drivers there. Kiko Porto coming through. Reese Gold, Miller. There's De Alba. There's Matt Garrido, Colin Kaminsky, Yuvan Sundaramurthy, Jordan Missig, and Jonathan Brown. Tough not to see Christian Brooks out there. Again, as I said before, of the 4 races he's run here in USF 2000, winning 3 of those events. And just that issue in qualifying today. And it's just, Todd, a minor miscue. Coming through, and he was top 4, actually top 5 at one point. It slipped down a little further, but tapped that wall in turn number 2. It sent him into turn number 3. Really bad damage to that machine. He's out of the race. That's going to open up things for everybody else in the championship battle.
That's very frustrating for Christian Brooks, and what he can't do, though, is worry about it past this weekend. It's over, it's done. He has to look forward now to the rest of the season. This is what's going to happen here in St. Pete, is we won't see him, but he now has to focus on the rest of the season. Green, Ahmed, Foster, Eves, and Siegel continue to be the top 5 here after 8 laps of 25.
So now what we'll watch for with Josh Green is what kind of consistency does he have in his lap time. That was back-to-back 1:10.20s. Ahmed, who did a flat, went back to a 1:10.3. Is he pushing hard early? Is he beating up on these Coopers a little bit? Is Green more settled in? Can he run a consistent lap time? Still, Foster and Eves quicker than the leaders. In fact, look at Siegel. He did a 1:10.0 last time by Siegel. Cranking down a lap from P5, tightening things up. 1.2 seconds back of Eves. Only 4 seconds separate the top 5 drivers.
And 3 of the top 5 are rookies, which is also fun to watch in this early going. These rookies having some success.
Nolan Siegel now closing up there on Braden Eves as well, trying to find his way by. So Eves up to Foster. Siegel was, Siegel lost about 3/10 last time by. You can see that Eves there, and the number 4 was starting to put the pressure on Foster right there, coming through turn number 4. Braden Eves putting the pressure on, and in walking around with the Cape Motorsports crew during the track walk, it's one of the things that Dominic Cape was saying to the young drivers: when you get to somebody, you have to force that mistake. You pressure them. In turn 12, you try different lines. You look inside, you look outside, because once they've made one mistake, you're in their head. They're going to make another one. You keep pushing them till they make a mistake that's at least big enough that you can capitalize. That's what Braden Eves is trying to do.
It's a little bit like we talked about a moment ago, where you want that driver focusing on you. You don't want him looking ahead, running his lines, going through the corner. You want to get his attention. That's why you'll see drivers slide over to the left or to the right as they enter a corner. Get right up underneath and make them pay attention to you behind them.
You want their head on a swivel. You want them looking in each mirror, right? Each mirror. Oh, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Always putting the pressure on. I will say this. Ahmed back down to a 110.1. The gap between first and second just 1.3 seconds now. But that is 4 consecutive 110.2 second laps for Josh Green. If you're Peter Dempsey at Turn 3 Motorsports, that's all you can ask for out of your driver. Consistency, put the lap times down. That's why this is such a great battle here. This is fantastic up front as both these drivers, Green and Ahmed, trying to start off the season in style. Oh, little wiggle coming out of turn number 8 there. That's one of the things about this racetrack as well, and we don't really bring it up a lot. These are city streets. There is a crown in the road that allows, when rain does come, that it takes the water off the road. When the drivers come over, they will cross over that crown, putting the power down. You'll see the rear end. It wants to fall away. The crown makes the rear end want to go away on them, and that's when the driver has to be really, really quick on the hands.
You're just watching that last shot, the undulation in the road. You could see it there, drifting from one side to the other. And again, here's another key part of this circuit, is getting through this hairpin and getting out onto corner 1. That can make or break your lap. If you come through exactly as you want, tight into that corner, and then drift out to that wall as close as you can, you'll generate maximum speed down to corner 1.
And one of the keys is getting that brake pressure, getting it to release, and then getting back on the throttle. But you have to be precise on rolling back on the throttle. You get back to the throttle too early, you get that mid-corner oversteer where the car wants to push away. Then you got to get back off the throttle a little bit. It's about getting the car to rotate, get back on the throttle, and maybe it's a trail braking potentially to get that car to rotate so you're back on the throttle and coming out of that corner cleanly. A very, very challenging part of the racetrack, which is really just a hairpin. Every one of these drivers has driven hairpins their entire life. This one's a really tough one.
11 laps in, it is Green, Ahmed, Foster, Eves, and Siegel continuing to be the top 5. The gap is just under 1.5 seconds from Green back to Ahmed. Green picked up just ever so slightly on that last lap, a 1:10.1, now a 1:10.2 to follow it up, just exactly what you want him to do.
Amazing consistency right now to Josh Green. Mount Kisco, New York, sponsored by Session Guardian and Zimperium. I talked to Josh in the offseason a little bit about testing and how he liked the car. We had our Road to Indy E-Series on iRacing as well, and he did extremely well there. And he said, I just really feel good driving this car. A couple years in USF 2000, but when you give a driver more of everything, they're always going to be happy. It's more horsepower, more downforce, more tires, more braking. This car, much more aerodynamic sensitive, and you use the aero a lot more than you would the USF 2000 car.
I don't know of a driver who would say no if you said, would you like more horsepower? Would you like more aerodynamics? I think that's just, sure, just give it to me. I'll take whatever I can.
They're also greedy. They always want more of everything. That's what I love about this Road to Indy, because literally come up with the Road to Indy, every step they go, we just keep giving them more of everything.
And that's it, but that's the learning process as well. As you enter in the aerodynamics, the tires and brakes and everything is a little bit different. Then you increase the horsepower, but then you give them more tools to handle it with bigger tires, with more brake power and more aerodynamics to deal with.
Fastest lap we've seen so far, actually Wyatt Prokachik a 109.9 as well. Louis Foster a 109.9, so both those drivers pretty quick. Green holding that 1.3 second advantage. This is textbook right now, just past the halfway point of this Andersen Interior Contracting Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, the first of 2 races. for Indy Pro. They'll be back on track early tomorrow morning for that event when they get going once again. 8 o'clock start time for race number 2 for the drivers here in Indy Pro. Field kind of settling as we often do. Now to see who has the speed to start closing up. Foster just laid down a 109.9, about 0.2 quicker than Ahmed, but he's 1.1 back right now. For Foster, he's going to have to find that speed. He's got to have the consistency to start eating into that lead that Ahmed has already developed.
And this is where drivers will start to feel a difference in the car as well. As we're just past the midway point, you talked about the fuel burning off. Car gets a little bit lighter, it's going to behave a little differently, it's going to handle differently, it's going to feel a little bit differently going into each of the corners. How do the drivers adapt to that? Do they adjust their braking accordingly? Does it give them an opportunity to move up a little closer and maybe make a pass?
We're seeing a yellow flag here in the screen. That's coming out of turn number 9. I believe that it's Wyatt Prokopchik potentially. Prokopchik may have gone off the racetrack into the escape route of turn number 10. So again, we have Wyatt Prokopchik falling down the order. That is going to move Kiko Porto up into 6th, Reese Gold into 7th, Jack William Miller up into 8th, De Alba 9th, and Matt Rangarito back up into the top 10. So Prokopchik back on, looks like he potentially back onto the racetrack just outside the top 10, probably about 13th. So maybe off into that area, that runoff, get the car load up and turn back around, back out onto the racetrack.
That will hurt him in terms of time and position, but good that he got going. Just a local yellow to allow him to get turned around and get back out on course once there was an opening. But yes, lost an awful lot of ground, but we stay green the rest of the way.
Yeah, and for Wyatt, he'll be disappointed putting in such, he had such a good run going there. Again, he had the fast lap of the race here on lap number 12. So he was pushing, right? He was trying to get back up there. He was trying to get after Nolan Siegel, trying to dig in there for the guys from J. Howard Driver Development. But he has showed good pace, and I expect he'll be very strong tomorrow as well. Interesting, looking at some of the times, I don't see anybody as of yet who's been able to go faster here in the second race lap. One thing we talked about in qualifying was fastest lap in qualifying set the grid for race 1. Your fastest lap or your fastest race lap of race 1 for race number 2. No one going any quicker right now than they did, I believe. Actually, no. Let's do this. Prokopchik, a 110.1. His fast lap did a 109.9. That could potentially move Prokopchik. That may move him up into the top 5. He could move up a couple of spots for Prokopchik because of the speed he laid down here. So, yeah, well done for Wyatt. Fantastic.
Ahmed continues to try to put a little pressure on Josh Green, but Green has just gone under the 110 on that last lap. So 15 laps done. It's still a 1.3, 1.4 second gap back to second place. Foster, Eves, and Siegel round out the top 5 with 15 done.
Yeah, let's drop a little kudos to Peter Dempsey, who engineers his crew over there. That car has got better and better and better. He was doing 3s, 110 3s, then a bunch of 2s, then a 1, then a flat. Got down to a 109.9, and that gap is still 1.1 seconds. Even though Ahmed is coming, that car is capable of getting into the 109. So, Josh, time to dial things in. You got to step it up. 9 laps to go, 1.1 seconds to lead.
That's part of the learning process as well, and undoubtedly Peter Dempsey will be communicating with his driver. I understand the car's going to be fine the entire way. It may even get a little better.
Here comes Jonathan Brown into pit lane. Here's what I would say for Brown potentially. They may put fresh rubber for Jonathan Brown. He qualified 15th. Let's throw some fresh rubber on, get him back onto the racetrack. He'll be able to maybe turn a flyer with those fresh tires, move himself up the order. So again, Green leading last time by. Watching the midfield scrap here right now as the drivers working their way over to turn number 8 and 9, the double apex right-hander. That is Yuvan Sundaramurthy getting challenged here by Colin Kaminsky. Those drivers have run together for several years. Kaminsky and Sundaramurthy were teammates with Hunter McElroy and Bruno Tomaselli in USF 2000s a couple of years ago. Of course, McElroy moving up to Indy Lights this year with Andretti Autosport. Sundaramurthy and Kaminsky both here alongside Jordan Missick in Indy Pro 2000. It's a back-to-back Road to Indy feature for you here midway through the day on Friday, Todd, as we have USF 2000 drivers. We'll start seeing them roll their way down into the paddock, into the mock grid pretty soon as well.
Nice job by Thomas DeVoe to score the pole position with a real late flyer. Just got in under the wire, but he will start on the pole for the USF 2000 race that comes up right after this one. Right now, though, it remains Josh Green up front, but look at that lead has almost carved in half.
Well, so here's the thing. Green's still consistent, running 110s, 110-1s, 110-2s, maybe a flat here and there. But Anam Ahmed is dialing things in, a 110.784. Ahmed now to within less than 0.8 of a second. Laps are most definitely winding down. 8 laps remaining when they get back around here. But we do see a bit of a challenge potentially coming. And again, it's how close can Ahmed get and start using that draft down the straightaway, right? He hasn't been able to use that yet. It's still significant right now, maybe a little bit of a draft, but not quite enough. He'll need to get to within maybe, 6-7 of a second to be able to fully leverage that draft. This time, Green does another flat. Ahmed back to a 110.3. You have to be consistent. Man, Ahmed was down to some pretty good lap times. Fast lap of 109.7. He just went a half a second slower on that last lap.
And that's what will frustrate you and frustrate everyone as you're trying to get closer. If you had done 5 laps, a 10th better, you're a half second closer. That's the way to approach it. It's just you can try to get it all back at once, but it is so difficult to the point of impossible as we see a car coming down pit lane.
Yeah, Yuvan Sundar down pit lane as well, was running in the 11th position. Wonder whether or not it's an issue for Sundar mechanically or whether he's going to elect to try to put fresh rubber on as well. The idea is to see if you can't put the fresh rubber on. It's a lot warmer out here than it was this morning. Maybe you're able to put that flyer lap down on fresh rubber, because remember, the entire field going out on their tires they used in qualifying, those used tires. So put the fresh rubber on, maybe make a minor adjustment, get out there and try to get a flyer. You have open racetrack. See if you can't put down a lap. There's still lots of time left. These guys can get 2, 3, 4 laps in with fresh rubber. We'll keep an eye on those guys' lap times.
Just enough time to get out, get the tires warmed up to optimum temperature, and maybe improve your qualifying position for race number 2 that will come up tomorrow morning. First thing tomorrow morning for the Indy Pro 2000 Series, they will go green right at 8 o'clock tomorrow.
We'll, of course, get started a little early on Road to Indy TV with the pre-show. Steve Whittick from Trackside Online will be joining me. Oh, yeah. Everybody from the tail of the field's coming in, like we might as well. Brkacic's coming in, Jordan Missig's coming in. So everybody at the tail of the field diving in right now to potentially, I assume, put on fresh rubber. So, well, essentially we got round number 1 of the race and a qualifying session broke out. so we've got at least 4 drivers from the tail of the field have elected are going to put fresh rubber on and going to try to out-qualify things. And if this works, this could shake up things for race number 2, most definitely.
This is also part of the learning process that we talked about early this morning during the qualifying for the Road to Indy drivers. 3 sets of fresh tires for this weekend, so it's about managing the tires, 4 on-track sessions with qualifying and the races. So now how do you manage those tires and use them to your advantage for the race?
With the uniqueness of the schedule, only having the 1 qualifying session, it makes it a bit easier, right? Because it had a carryover set from our spring training test at Homestead last week. So they brought a used set for practice. So 3 sessions, 3 fresh sets. Everybody used 2 sets in qualifying. There's at least 1 fresh set sitting there on pit lane. Who is going to use it? Another driver in the pit lane right now, that's Kaminsky. So he's decided to come in as well. So everybody outside the top 10, Kaminsky, Brkacic, Missig, Sundar, and Brown have all come in. So to be honest, they've all canceled each other out. So nobody's really going to gain anything in terms of where they are on the racetrack, because nobody really cares about 11th place on back in points. It'd be better to try to get one of those high points tomorrow, starting more up front, because even though this track, there are passing opportunities, the better you start, you just raise your chances of finishing well so much. It is tough to pass on any street circuit, whether it's here, Long Beach, Toronto, whatever it may be. It's tough to pass.
We're just watching Kiko Porto and Reese Gold battling through the back part of the course. Reese Gold trying to push. You can see that 55 car sliding just a little bit around some of the corners. 20 laps down now, and it's Josh Green still up front. The lead down to under a full second between he and Inam Ahmed, but Ahmed with a good lap, but can he back it up now is the question.
And that's it, right? And Josh Green's handled things so far. It all depends on whether he can stay focused for these last 5 laps to get the job done. I'll say this, let's just put this out here. Top time in qualifying, a 109.6. You're going to have to get a 109.6, I think, to find yourself up on the front row for these drivers who are going out to qualify. We're going to keep our eyes on Missig, Brkacic, Brown, Sundar, Kaminsky, all in for fresh rubber, all roll them back out of the racetrack, see what kind of lap times they can drop in. A 110.8 on the brand new tires for Sundar. This could be interesting. Good battle on the racetrack right now between Kiko Porto and Reese Gold. That's what we're picking up Right behind them, Jack William Miller. So yeah, there's the number one, Kiko Porto, the USF 2000 champion from last year, running the Road to Indy Scholarship colors. Yeah, that's a good fight. That is for 6th and 7th and 8th. So Reese Gold, second-year driver in the Juncos Hollinger Racing Machine, putting a lot of pressure on the rookie. Leaders back across the line once again. You can see them coming out of turn number 12. The gap down to less than 7/10 of a second. Ahmed chipping out about 2/10 of a second at a time. Are we going to see a battle right at the very end here, Todd?
We have seen that in the past here in Indy Pro 2000, USF 2000, all the levels of the Road to Indy. Sometimes the gap stretches out a little bit during the middle of the race, but then it tightens up as we're watching.
Yeah, it's maybe 4 car lengths right now. Anam Ahmed, fastest driver on the racetrack, laid in a 109.9, as did Eves, as did Siegel, but we may find ourselves with a challenge. And look at Foster's not that far back either. You wonder what's going on with Josh Green. Still, he's been very consistent, 110.1s. He just hasn't got down into the 109s and been able to stay there. We know he's got at least one 109. He did that back on lap 14. But right now, he has got his hands full. One of these, hey, any of the top 3 have never won in Indy Pro 2000. The only guy in the top 3 that's even won on the Road to Indy is Josh Green. So one of these drivers is going to get their first Indy Pro 2000 race win. Lap 23 going in the books as they come across the line. Josh Green. They get 22 in the books. Yeah, 22. 3 laps to go. 3 laps to go for Green. Identical lap times. Now this is the thing. Now, when Ahmed gets there, now he's got to deal with losing that air over the front wing. You get that little bit of aero wash, that aero push, when you're trying to roll into a corner. You just don't have that air coming to the front wing. It doesn't want to turn in like it used to. It's a little bit of that, entry understeer, push. Oh, what a tremendous race we have so far.
This is what you want to see up near the front of the field. The 2 front runners, less than a second apart, less than 7/10 of a second apart. 3 laps to go, headed for the checkers. One of them potentially picking up their first victory.
Prokopchik down to a 109.9 as well, so that's going to move him up potentially into the top 6, top 5. So Prokopchik trying to take advantage of this second, essentially qualifying run on sticker tires, but we've got ourselves a tremendous lead. There they are coming out of turn number 12. Foster not that far back, Louis Foster. And here's the big run down the straightaway once again. Ahmed about a 10th quicker than Green. The thing is, will he throw it to the inside of turn number 1? 2 laps remaining. About 2.5, 3 car lengths for Josh Green. The Mount Kisco, New York driver looking to start his Indy Pro 2000 career with a victory here in St. Petersburg. Todd, you can't speak enough about how this would build confidence and momentum for Josh Green starting the season.
No question. To come out and post a quick time in qualifying, then take it wire to wire and score that first victory, that would be a huge boost to a driver in this rookie season here in the Indy Pro 2000 series. But he is getting challenged on this final couple of laps by Inam Ahmed, who is creeping ever closer.
Anam, the Pakistani driver, with, I think, more top-level experience than a Josh Green. He's run British F3, a former British F3 champion. He's won FIA F3. Loves it over here in the U.S. And is thrilled to be here for a full season with Juncos Hollinger. He's looking to try to pay them off as well with a win to start the season. They'll work their way to turn number 12. White flag flying this time by. 1 lap to go. Nolan Siegel just laid down a 109.5 from P5. That's going to move him to the pole position for race number 1. Siegel on used tires, a 109.5. Final lap on the racetrack right now. Josh Green trying to hold off Anam Ahmed. Will he get his first Indy Pro 2000 win in the debut? They'll go to turn 4. Really only one more passing opportunity left, although you can pressure in the hairpin. Anam Ahmed going to try to throw everything at him. But again, do you risk it? You take the second spot, start the season clean, or do you toss it in there? Is it bend it or win it for Anam Ahmed? This is the final real opportunity. They'll come through the kink over to turn number 10 now. That's a heartbreaking left-hander. Green's got to get through cleanly. At least 2 car lengths for Josh Green. The turn 3 motorsport driver just has to get through cleanly in the hairpin turn number 12. You've done it already 24 times. Roll the center. Get back on the throttle. A little wide on the entry. But indeed, out cleanly, the winner of the opening round of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, Josh Green. victorious on the streets of St. Petersburg. He wins the Andersen Interior Contracting Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Turn 3 Motorsports. That team is going to be over the moon with a victory for Josh Green. They will be absolutely jacked with that for sure. Jonathan Brown getting the laps he needs to be able to pick up his game and be right in the fight as well. We will throw this out there, both Siegel and Prokachik, I believe, going faster. So Siegel, though, that could be the pole time for Siegel, improving on his qualifying run here in the race. But man, that was Green versus Ahmed. Louis Foster in there. What a great way to start the season.
How's that for 25 laps of action to open the season here on the streets of St. Petersburg?
I got a little shake going on. I'm shaking a bit.
It's understandable.
Wow.
It's been a long time in coming. You had the test session at Homestead a while back, and now everybody is into action, and it's time to go here. And we get to do this one more time tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and we got, of course, USF 2000 coming up as well. The drivers are working their way around the track back into the pit lane. I'll let you handle a recap, Todd, of the results. I'll head down to victory lane. You can throw it down to me. We got some celebrating to do today.
Understandably so. And yes, Josh Green is going to be there to accept the trophy and accept the celebrations right up on the top step, scoring his first win in the Indy Pro 2000 series. First win of the season, just about as perfect a race as you could get. Qualifies on the pole and then leads wire to wire, scoring a victory in race number 1. Josh Green pressured as much as he could, but Inam Ahmed comes up a little bit short, finishes 0.6 of a second behind Josh Green, but a very solid run for the Pakistani driver as well. Inam Ahmed with a second place finish. And Louis Foster in the number 90 car, a nice solid run. Again, finishes a little bit further back, moved up, had some good laps, had some solid laps, but was unable to really challenge with those front two. Josh Green got such a great start, gave himself a better than 2-second gap at the beginning. Ahmed was able to claw into it a little bit, but it was really Josh Green's race from start to finish. He managed it beautifully. Louis Foster rounds out the podium. Braden Eves with a solid run with a 4th place finish in that 4th place car. And then Nolan Siegel, who was very quick in practice, comes home with a top 5 finish as well. Kiko Porto, the USF 2000 champion, comes home with a 6th place result. He moves up from 7th place at the start of this race, picking up 1 position. And then Reese Gold, who fell back a little bit. We watched a good battle between Kiko Porto and Reese Gold in the latter stages of that race. Porto able to hold on to the 6th position ahead of Reese Gold. Jack William Miller in the number 40 car comes home 8th. Salvador De Alba is 9th. And Matt Garrido rounds out the top 10 in the Indy Pro 2000 race here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Yuvan Sundramurthy is the 11th. Jordan Missig, Wyatt Prokachik, who posted a very quick time late in the race, a 109.6. He and Nolan Siegel really improved their times from their qualifying this morning and will benefit in race number 2 tomorrow. Colin Kaminsky and Jonathan Brown round out the 15 competitors who took the green. There was a 16th car who, in qualifying this morning with Christian Brooks, who had damage sustained so seriously to the car it was unrepairable for this weekend. Christian Brooks is fine, climbed out of the car. He is fine, but very disappointed, of course, that he will not be able to participate this weekend. The USF 2000 race winner here, and 3 of his 4 events run, will not participate this winter. But the celebrations are for Josh Green, Inam Ahmed, and then Louis Foster, who comes home with the top 3 positions here on the streets of St. Petersburg.